Do you find me sadistic? No. I like to believe in aware love, even now. To know that there is nothing sadistic in my actions. This moment, this is me at my most masochistic.
Looked dead, didn't it? Well, that's because it was. But it wasn't from a lack of trying, I can tell you that. What Stabby didn't realize is that Mini-Sentry had accumulated 3 kills and 1 assist. More than enough for what I had planned. After that sentry got destroyed, I went on what the movie advertisements refer to as a roaring rampage of revenge. Well, I roared, and I rampaged, and I got bloody revenge. I've killed a hell of a lot of players to get to this point, but I have only one more crit. The last one. The one I'm saving right now. The only crit left. And when I see Stabby again on the battlefield, I am going to use my frontier justice. Wow, a little dramatic there, but yeah, if there ever was a weapon in Team Fortress 2 that represented the satisfactory themes of a revenge film, the Frontier Justice certainly does fill that role. The gun is one of my personal favorite engineer weapons to use because it benefits a very specific, very powerful playstyle that I'm not completely convinced a lot of typical engineer players are making the most of. But before we get into that, let's go over to exactly what this thing does. So the Frontier Justice works in conjunction with your sentry gun in order to reward you with guaranteed critical hits for every kill and assist your sentry gun racks up before it's destroyed. After your sentry goes down, for every kill you get 2 crits, and for every assist you get 1 crit, and the number of crits that you have stored is displayed on your HUD under Revenge. In return for this awesome mechanic, you have exactly half the clip size of a stock shotgun, taking it down from 6 shots to 3 before you have to reload. The only other thing to mention about the Frontier Justice is that you actually don't have to have it equipped while your gun is getting the kills. You only need it when your sentry is destroyed. So you can get all the kills on your gun while you have a different primary, switch to the Frontier Justice, and then have your gun go down to gain the free crits. It also requires you to be alive when the sentry gun is destroyed in order to get the crits applied to your gun, which is actually really important when we're talking about the way that you want to be using this thing. At first glance, the Frontier Justice seems pretty obvious in what it wants you to do and what playstyle it might be balanced around. You're trading the ability to fire twice as many rounds before having to reload for the ability to have guaranteed triple damage every once in a while. It can also go without saying that if you're not building sentry guns, your sentry guns aren't getting kills at all, or your sentry guns are dying while you yourself are not alive, the Frontier Justice will end up just being a handicap more than anything, and you'd be better off having more firepower with the stock shotgun instead. That being said, the Engineer's biggest draw is his ability to build sentry guns, so if you find yourself playing in a game where your aimbot is doing work, the Frontier Justice is an easy choice for a primary. Now, the way that I've seen most players use the Frontier Justice is they use it one of 2 ways, one of which I believe is a little more viable than the other, but also less common. The first and better way to use this gun is what I'll call the win more battle Engie method, which is where you can play super aggressively against a super squishy team, and as a result the sentry gun is getting a ton of kills and assists, and this is mainly going to be because you're already winning. The Frontier Justice is a fantastic rolling a pub weapon because when your sentry gun is getting kills, you get crits, and then you get more kills, and then it's just this never-ending cycle of players getting completely slaughtered. And while it is totally viable, this situation is very specific, and it isn't going to happen every time. In public servers especially, sometimes you're the lion, and sometimes you're the lamb. And the Frontier Justice works really well as an offensive primary when you're the lion, but not when you're the lamb. A sentry gun that just gets destroyed by the rolling team before it can get any kills isn't going to benefit the Frontier Justice at all. The second, less effective way that the Frontier Justice is commonly used is what I'll call the putting all your eggs in one turtle method, which is where you'll stay shacked up behind your level 3 sentry gun for 5 minutes and rack up 15 kills before your sentry gun finally goes down and you can take advantage of the 30 guaranteed crits. There are a few things wrong with this method. First off, turtling is simply not very fun and really lame to play against, so you should just stop that right now. Just get up and walk around. Play the game for heaven's sake. Second off, when you rack up too many kills on your sentry gun, yes, with the Frontier Justice there is such thing as too many sentry kills, you basically begin to load up all of your stored crits into one fragile life. Turtling engineers, while they do pose a decent obstacle to anything short of an explosive class or an uber-charged assault, don't usually survive after their precious sentry gun is destroyed. Best case scenario, after your gun gets run over by the enemy team, you'll be able to fire off maybe like 2 or 3 crits before you also get killed, and then the other 27 crits go to waste because they do reset when you die with them. So anyway, this is what makes the Frontier Justice an interesting weapon to me. It obviously encourages you to work with your gun to give your engineer even more damage, but there are obvious downsides to either not getting any kills with your sentries or letting your sentry gun accumulate too many kills without safely rewarding you with the crits. In my opinion, the Frontier Justice is best utilized with a third method, which I will call kill, destroy, crit, repeat, or just the passive-aggressive technique. Now, I want to mention that while the Frontier Justice may seem like a purely offensive gun on paper, I truly do believe that it's actually very much a defensive gun more than anything. The important thing to do when you're using the Frontier Justice is to not die. And generally speaking, you die a lot more on offense and a lot less on defense. When you're playing defense, you have the protection of your sentry gun, your team, you have your spawn room. You hardly ever have to make a sacrifice for the good of the objective. You're punished harder for dying on defense with a longer respawn time. In plain terms, the point of playing defense is to waste the offensive team's time. So dying is the last thing that you want to do, which directly benefits this passive-aggressive playstyle. Basically, what you'll want to be doing with the Frontier Justice is constantly switching between 2 modes of operation. The default mode is to play passive. This is where you'll sit back, maintain your buildings, don't peek sniper sightlines, don't go looking for a fight, just put up a sentry gun and let the enemy team come to you. Let them run into it and die, racking up a few sentry kills. Now this is the important part. When you feel that it is safe to not have a sentry gun alive for a few seconds, destroy your own sentry gun. This is the best way to go about this because if your sentry gun is destroyed at a non-optimal time, you may be completely out of position to utilize your crits. On the other hand, if your sentry gun is being attacked while it has kills on it, don't bother trying to save it if you're confident that you can simply rebuild another one right away. When this is happening, it's important to keep an eye on the kills and assists that your sentry gun is accumulating. Like I said, you don't want to get too many kills because if you end up with a ton of crits and you somehow get sniped or backstabbed, you'll have wasted more potential damage than you needed to. Overall, using the Frontier Justice effectively is all about control and playing the value game. You want to be the one who decides when your sentry gun dies and gives you the crits, whether it be by your own destructive PDA or allowing your enemy to destroy it in exchange for preserving your own life, and therefore your crits. You want to be able to effectively use all of the crits you have stored without risking losing all of your effective crits at once. So yeah, after you've allowed your sentry gun to get a few kills, I'd say that the maximum crits that you should safely accumulate in one gun is around 6, but try to stick with getting about 3 or 4 at a time. Build another gun, and when you see an opportunity, switch your mode to aggressive. This is where you can run up to the front lines to use your crits on everything. Try your best to lead your shots so you can go for clean meat shots. You don't want to just spam your crits. You got to make your shots count, basically. You only got a few chances. But if you only have the opportunity to chip a hurt retreating enemy, just totally go for it. Crits have no fall off, but the shotgun spread does make it a little difficult to do a good amount of damage from a distance. So then, after you've used up all of your crits, it's time to retreat back to the back lines to play passive again. After all, with no crits left, you're essentially just an engineer with half of your clip missing. This can be infinitely repeated. First, playing passive and allowing your sentry gun to get kills and safely destroying it to store your crits, then playing aggressive to essentially be a triple damage battle engineer that comes to the front lines to meat shot people and drop medics every few minutes. I've found that the passive-aggressive method is by far the most effective way to play with the Frontier Justice, but I hardly ever see engineers in pubs doing this, so please, go ahead and try it. It can be really effective, and once you have the technique down, your enemy will only ever end up seeing you when you have guaranteed crits, which is insane, and will probably make them really confused and probably really mad. Don't worry guys, I'll totally take the blame for this, but before I wrap up this video, I'll clear up some frequently asked questions that I can foresee being asked about the Frontier Justice in the comments section. We'll start with the big one. Is it better to use leveled sentries or mini sentries with the Frontier Justice? I honestly don't think that it matters very much. Obviously, leveled sentries do more damage, but they also take longer to build because they require more metal and more time compared to mini sentries, which make it more difficult for you if you're either in a metal scarce area of a map or your team is having trouble protecting you while you spend a bit more time constructing your sentries. Since you're going to be destroying your sentry or allowing your sentry to be destroyed every few minutes, wasting that much time on metal on building a gun all the way up to level 3 just for extra damage isn't usually worth it, so it could be a good idea just to stop upgrading around level 2 until all of your other buildings are fully maxed out. Remember, level 2 sentries basically have the same DPS as a level 3 sentry minus rockets. So if you are going to use leveled sentries, I highly suggest using the Jag because it gets your sentries up faster, and since you're not going to be concerned with tanking damage or preventing spies from killing it too often, the downsides are pretty negligible. On the other hand, a big advantage of the Gunslinger, and yes, you can effectively use the Gunslinger on defense, especially with the Frontier Justice, is that you spend less metal on each sentry, making for more sentries more often, and when you switch to that aggressive mode, you have 25 more health to work with, so you're less likely to die when trying to two-shot a heavy. So yeah, when it comes down to choosing which sentry type to use with the Frontier Justice, it really just comes down to your preference, the other team's persistence in taking your guns out before they can get kills, how much metal is available in an area. Mostly though, just play whatever you think is fun. I personally have different moods. Sometimes I'm feeling like having a Jag, and sometimes I just want to have a robot hand. Okay, don't say having a Jag again. That just sounds wrong. So you're probably like, okay, we get that the Frontier Justice pairs well with sentry guns, but what secondary weapon does it pair well with? Well, I personally think that with any weapon that encourages you to shoot players, but has the possibility of running out of steam earlier than usual, like for instance, the Widowmaker, and in this case, the Frontier Justice, the pistol is a great answer to the problem of, oh no, I need to keep doing damage, but I ran out of bullets with my primary weapon. Since the Frontier Justice can only fire 3 times before you need to stop and reload, it's a really great idea to use the pistol alongside it just in case you still have people to kill after your crits and your clip runs out. Or maybe you're like me and occasionally completely beef on landing your crits. In situations like these, having a backup weapon that can actually do damage is always useful. That is, as opposed to the Short Circuit, which does a consistent 20 damage at a very short range, or the Wrangler, which actually can't shoot anyone at all without your sentry gun. Not to mention the Wrangler is good at keeping your sentry gun alive against spam, which is kind of the opposite of what we want when we're using the Frontier Justice. We actually want the gun to die. And the last question you guys probably have is, how are you destroying your sentry gun so fast? It's almost like you are mind controlling it to destroy itself instead of accessing your destruction PDA first. Well, you're right. I don't have to use the PDA to destroy my sentry guns because I'm using a script that both builds and destroys a sentry gun at the same time. So basically I have it set up so that my middle mouse button, aka mouse 3, aka the scroll wheel when you click down on it, does 2 things, one right after another. First, it instantly destroys my sentry gun. You can bypass a lot of things in this game with the console commands, and destroying and creating buildings are a few of them. You can prompt your engineer to instantly destroy his sentry gun by typing destroy space 2 space 0 in console. But instead, I have it so that when I press mouse 3, it automatically enters that line into console. This is called a bind, so basically it's an instant self-destruct button. Then, immediately after that line is the command build space 2 space 0, which, as you can probably guess, prompts my engineer to prepare a sentry gun. This is wildly useful for all aspects of playing Engie because it just streamlines the way that you build sentries. But when it comes to using the Frontier Justice, being able to quickly destroy and build another sentry gun is pretty much what using that weapon is all about. So that's why I'm going to quickly go over how to insert this bind into your own game. So first, you want to go into your folder called CFG, which is in your TF folder. Follow this path to get there. At this point, you want to open up Notepad and copy and paste the bind in there. It'll be in the description down below. Save this file as engineer.cfg and put it in the CFG folder. And it's as simple as that. Now, when you press mouse 3, you will simultaneously build a sentry after instantly destroying any existing one. This saves you from having to press 3 entire buttons. Wow, how lazy are we, right? We don't even have the time to press no buttons. I'm way too busy right now. That's the engineer life for you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you nieces and nephews next time. Bye-bye.